say.
All right, I am here with Nancy Arteaga, Lane Middle School teacher. We are here to talk about schools reopening and any concerns regarding that. So thank you for joining me this morning, Nancy.
Thanks for having me, because I have a ton of concerns. It's just, I guess, a lot of teachers right now.
hmm So could you just start by briefly telling me a little bit about yourself and your teaching background?
Yeah, so I've been teaching at my school as my 5th year incoming, and for 4 of those years, I've been the sole content teacher of color, so language arts, social studies, math, science. I'm the only one in this very diverse school. Prior to teaching, I was a paraprofessional for 3 years, working with SPED, so I've been in education for about 7 or 8 years now.
How quick was that turnaround for you from going from in person to full-time online?
We had a week, like an extra week added to spring break. Um, but that week for most teachers was not a break. It was us making sure we're communicating with our students. It was not a break for us. Just trying to see who needs this, what are their needs, what resources, how can we get them connected, who do we get them connected to? So straight from getting those resources, then in 2 weeks teaching as language arts, we had to be ready the first day district learning came out. So being a language arts teacher, I had to be ready day 1 when it came back from spring break with no direction, really bad district given curriculum that my students definitely could not access. It was immediate, and quickly over the weeks I learned just that shift and just ignore the district recommendations and go with my gut.
Oh, wow. So what does the conversation look like right now then with all of the staff at your school?
And that's also the big problem, is a lot of the conversation is based on should schools reopen or not. And I don't feel like that should be the conversation we're having. I don't feel like, what is the purpose to return to a school that's still holding white supremacy, that is white values? Why are we in a rush to have students go back to testing? Those aren't the conversations we're supposed to be having. We're supposed to be asking, how are we changing all of that? I don't feel secure going back to work, not just because of cleanliness, virus, all those things. What is there to go back to? It's just the same shit again.
And are you talking about like public school teaching?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the students and for educators of color. Students have made demands recently, educators of color made demands, and if the district is ignoring them, what is there to go back to? Just keep holding, these white supremacist structures. I don't understand why the question is, should we reopen? It's just like, what are we reopening to?
Mm-hmm. So what do you think would be, what do you think should be the conversation happening right now?
That is a good question. I feel like the district has enough money to pay people to do that work. But I know I don't feel good going back to how things were, not just because I know my school specifically. I know it was inequitable beforehand. Didn't take the pandemic to show me the inequity between schools. I knew if I needed to do an art project, I had to buy those things myself. If I know for language arts, I wanted kids to read, I had to get those things myself. And those inequities I've always shown. So what are we doing as a district to give more resource, more money to those schools who we know we need it? I get told like, oh, wow, you work at Lane, that's a hard school. We all know what the tough schools are. Why do we accept that? Why do we accept, okay, those teachers, you're a savior, you're a martyr, you're working with these students. I don't know why we accept that. I don't know why we're not saying, give us the money, give us the resources we need. And so we're just going, okay, when can we go back?
What about from the student perspective? How are they feeling? How are your students feeling about all this?
They're scared. The last student I talked to said she was stressed out. And in my mind, I kind of assumed she was stressed out because she had a bunch of work she needed to do and catch up on, but she was stressed out about the world and how to be an activist and how to participate and how to take, right when the shutdown happened, we were in the middle of our Black Lives Matter unit. So it became things that they could apply in their real life and just asking, how can I keep doing that? So they are stressed, but I don't think it's about school. It's just our surroundings are in Portland and just everything they're seeing. And it's students are at the table and students are making these demands and they're amazing. And we should be working together with them and we're not bringing them to the table. I feel like what can teaching look like if we include students in the curriculum? Instead of focusing, can we go back to the brick and mortar next year? What can we focus on? What does education look like when we bring our community members, our activists, our families into the school and actually build curriculum with them? So I feel like that's a really missed opportunity, not engaging students more.
And as of right now, do you see the schools actually reopening? Do you see one side or the other leaning towards what is going to happen in the fall?
If I base it off of like the news and even the Oregonian coming out with PBS's plan to reopen, it seems like, yes, we are coming back to hybrid. But if we look at what teachers are saying and what the union's coming out with, it seems like a total disconnect. We're saying we can't go if there's any chance of people dying. So it feels even then, I have no idea because the news is publishing one thing and we're hearing that's not happening. So it's even hard to prepare for next year when we don't know what next year is looking like. And it's going to be August soon. This is when we do all of our prep.